DeepSeek open sourced their own agent harness 6 days ago. 169,000 GitHub stars, one of the fastest curves the site has ever recorded. It's got workspaces, plugins, tools, subagents, swappable models, and an interface you can rebuild, including a mode where it writes its own plugins because you asked it to. And if you don't understand how those pieces fit together, the whole thing feels way more complicated than it actually is. So 20 concepts from zero, starting with the one everything else depends on. First, the harness itself. AI models, no matter how powerful and how smart they are like brains inside of jars. They can't really do anything. They can think about a lot of stuff, but they can't do anything. The harness is what gives that AI model the brain, hands, eyes, memory, and permission to actually do things. You can sit the smartest brain in the world at a desk with no keyboard and it can't do anything. DeepSeek's harness is called DSH, which is short for DeepSeek Harness. And this gap is the whole reason AI has felt impressive and useless at the same time, because most of the time we're talking to brains inside jars. Now for installation. You can either run it through node.js with this command or by cloning the Git repository. Let's do it by cloning the Git repository. I'm just going to paste this command, hit enter. It's going to download all of the files and install it. Installation done. Now it installs itself into a folder called DeepSeek Harness. To run it, it's a simple command pnpm dsh web. It's going to give you a URL, copy, and it's that simple. DeepSeek Harness is up and running. Now the first time that you install this, it's going to give you a pop-up window where it's going to ask you to input a DeepSeek API key. Now the beauty of DeepSeek Harness is you don't really need to use DeepSeek as your brain. You can use an API key from any provider. Go to Settings, Models, click Add Provider, and choose any from this list, whichever one you're using. Paste in your API key, hit apply, and you're all set up. I've already set mine up with OpenRouter so that I can access all of these models through OpenRouter itself. And I can test which one works best and actually switch very easily between models for different kinds of tasks. Next up, Workspaces. The only way you can take any meaningful action through DeepSeek Harness is if you add a folder or a workspace to it. Very similar to Claude Code or Codex, where you actually have to open both harnesses inside of a folder to give it access to it and to be able to do work. To add a workspace, you can do it from the sidebar by clicking this Add Workspace button up here, or you can do it from the chat itself by going to this dropdown and clicking Add Workspace. You need to scope every agent session inside a specific folder, because that's the difference between working on a particular job and letting the agent loose on your entire computer. Number 5, sessions. A session is like a thread of work. Sessions are persistent, which means even if you close DeepSeek Harness and then open it again the next day, you can still see all of your previous work and just continue where you left off. That was the setup. Now for the part that makes DSH different from every other agent tool you've seen this year. And if this is useful so far, hit subscribe, because the next 5 are the reason that I made this video. Quick and straight back, because the last part is the best one. If you run a business rather than a repo, the mistake I watch people make every week is buying the tool first. They see a launch like this, they install it, then go looking for something to point it at. That's backwards, and it's why most of these setups are dead in a month. The order that works: find the one workflow where the same information gets retyped by a human 3 times. That's your bottleneck. Then pick the tool. If you want help finding it in your business, the link's below and we can map it out on a call. And if you'd rather build it yourself, everything here, the vault structure, the prompts, the plugins, is in the community, also below. Now level 2, why it's built differently. This is the sentence that DeepSeek leads with themselves. Everything is a plugin. And they mean everything. The thing that talks to the model, the list of tools, the log of what happened, even the loop that makes the agent take its next step. All plugins. In most software, there's a core you're not allowed to touch and a plugin folder that you can. Here, there's no protected core. Every part is replaceable from a config file. You're not locked into somebody else's product decisions. The part you don't like is the part you can swap. Nothing in DSH is permanent, which means nothing in DSH can trap you. Now for runtime modes. Because everything's a plugin, you can recompose it into different agents, and it ships with a few built in. Standard mode is the full kit: file editing, search, shell, skills, planning, subagents. Code mode gives the model the same tools but lets it write one program that chains them together instead of calling them one at a time. Minimal mode strips it to two tools: a terminal and a file editor. That's it. So you can match the mode to the job. Minimal for cheap, repeatable work. Code mode when the task is 30 steps and you don't want to pay for 30 round trips. So the same tool, 3 costs. Pick the cheapest one that finishes the job. Creator mode is what makes DSH so meta, and it's the one to pay attention to. It can look at its own running setup, test new pieces in memory, and build you a new capability while you describe it in plain English. I didn't write any code, I just described what I wanted. Now this is the difference between a developer tool and something that you can actually use. Customizing it is a conversation, not a project. If you can describe the tool that you wish you had, you can have it inside the harness itself. Number 9, the trajectory view. Everything the model saw and did gets written to a log that only ever gets added to, never edited, and never overwritten. The trajectory view is where you can read it back. System prompt, reasoning, every tool call, every result, every bit of context that got slipped in by source, the actual receipt. So when it does something wrong, and it inevitably will, you can see exactly what it was told. If this thing ever touches client data, that's not a nice to have, it is a must have. So if there's no log, there's no accountability. And this is that one feature that I'd refuse to run an agent without. Number 10, the plugin ecosystem. Because plugins are the whole architecture, people started shipping them immediately. There's already a whole directory of them. And here's the honest part. Since this is a developer preview and DeepSeek says it plainly in their own README, there will be changes that break things. This project is not even 10 days old. It's moving fast. So if you're putting this at the center of a client workflow this month, you need to know that before you go in. Now, somebody has probably already built the connector that you're about to pay someone or spend AI tokens to build. Check the plugin directory before you commission anything and treat anything you build on it as a prototype for now. So it's powerful, replaceable, and it's early, which raises the obvious question. How do you stop it from doing something stupid to your files? For level 3, keeping it on a leash, and concept number 11, sandbox mode. I've opened up a new session and I've set this to read only inside one of my folders. Let's ask it to make a copy of the index file. Now, because I was in read only mode, it flagged it didn't do it, and it's asking me for explicit permission to do this. I'm going to hit reject for now. So there's 3 settings. Read only means that it can look and not touch. Workspace write means it can change things inside your project folder and nowhere else. And full access means exactly what it sounds like. That's not a suggestion in a prompt. It's enforced by your operating system underneath. This is what lets you point an agent at real client files and still sleep. Workspace write is the setting that you might have as your default. I would use full access with extreme caution. Number 12, approval policy. Before the agent takes any kind of destructive or irreversible action, it'll ask you with a pop-up dialog before it does something. In DSH, there is no always allow option like you can find in Claude Code. However, to override that, you can change your permissions from workspace write to full access. Full access will reduce confirmation steps and lets the agent perform actions more directly, including sensitive operations, file changes, or external commands. Only use it when you trust the current tasks. You'll have to click the checkbox and then click enable full access. Now, because everything is a plugin, you can simply ask DSH in creator mode to make a customized approval plugin for you and use that to override the existing DSH approval policy. To be on the safe side, just stick to workspace write. Number 13, tools. Tools are a concrete list of what DSH can and cannot do. So it can run terminal commands using bash. It can pull up skills using skill. So you can see from this trajectory list from one of my earlier sessions that there are a whole different bunch of tools. This is the whole surface area. If it's not in the tool list, it can't happen. But the beauty of creator mode is that you can add your own customized tools. Number 14, plan mode. Plan mode makes it tell you what it's about to do before it does any of it. You read the plan and then release it. This is the cheapest possible way to catch a misunderstanding. Reading a plan takes less than a minute, but undoing 40 wrong file edits can take weeks. Anything touching more than a couple of files, turn plan mode on first. Now for the last 6. This is where it stops being a chat window and starts being something that works while you're not looking, including the one where it hires other AI agents. Like most other harnesses, DeepSeek Harness also supports skills. A skill is a file with a set of instructions in it. You drop it in your specific project, or you can have global skills installed as well. The agent finds it and follows it when the job calls for it or when you specifically invoke it. That's an entire process written down once for repeatable results over time. So this is how an SOP stops living in your head. The way you write proposals, the way you check invoices, the way you onboard, written once, followed every time. And you can see that a bunch of these skills are ones that I've been using with Claude Code, and because they're global skills, DeepSeek pulled them in automatically. Now, number 16, goals. A goal is a finish line attached to a session. You give the agent an end result for a long-running task, and it will keep running until it achieves that objective. So this is essentially the difference between answering a question and finishing a job. It keeps going towards the outcome instead of stopping at the first reply. The most important thing to remember about goals is to have specific final outcomes. That's the only way the agent can know when to stop. Now for number 17, scheduling. This is more of a hack rather than a built-in capability. Harnesses like Claude Code and Codex have loops and scheduled tasks to a certain extent. DSH doesn't have anything built in, but you can simply go into creator mode and ask it to create a scheduled task that runs every so often and does XYZ. It's going to go ahead and actually build out that entire plugin for you and add that plugin to your DeepSeek harness. And this is an excellent way to really highlight the limitation and the strength of DeepSeek Harness. It doesn't come with a lot of the bells and whistles out of the box that you would find in other harnesses, but it does give you the tools to make and mold those bells and whistles exactly how you want them to work. The only caveat is that it's only going to run when the session is live. So the moment you close the browser and exit the session from the terminal, it's going to stop running. It's not like Hermes or OpenClaw where cron jobs work 24/7. Number 18, subagents. This is a long-running task where I asked it to compare the entire Hermes repo with the DeepSeek Harness repo. In order to execute the task, it handed off work to other agents. Each agent gets its own clean context, does the job, and comes back with the answer, not the mess it made getting there. Now for number 19, workflows. There's a slight difference between subagents and workflows. In subagents, I ask for the work and it delegated. Here, I ask for an outcome, and it writes a program to get there. That's the workflow. Look at the script. It runs all three, waits, reads what came back, then picks two and goes deeper. I didn't design that sequence, and this script is throwaway. It existed for this one run. Now number 20, headless mode. Everything you've seen has been in a browser, but it doesn't really have to be. You can run a single command for one job. It prints the answer and it exits. No window, no port, nothing listening. And this is where things get really crazy, because you can now hook up Claude Code to run DSH. You can hook up Hermes to run DSH. You can hook up OpenClaw to run DSH through the terminal. So this is the difference between a tool you sit in front of and a tool that your existing workflows can call. Anything that can run a command can now run an agent. Your existing automation, a scheduled task, a script. 20 concepts, empty install to something that delegates work to other agents. If you want to watch me actually set this up end to end rather than explain it, that video is linked right here.